Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Sungjin Kim. It's a great pleasure to see you here. Our topic today is international collaboration for AI safety, standardization. We are honored to have with us a distinguished panel of speakers who will provide their expertise and direction. Let me start by introducing this session. Professor Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of artificial intelligence, warns about the potential danger of the killer robots because of the evolution of AI. He also predicts that artificial intelligence with super intelligence will emerge. So many AI authorities say that the emergence of super intelligence can pose unpredictable challenges, so we need to be prepared for that. I hope we can conclude, reach a good conclusion through a productive discussion on this issue today. Now let me introduce the speakers who will be presenting and leading the discussion today. First, our keynote speaker is Professor Byung-Eun Kang from KAIST. Professor Kang graduated from Seoul National University and earned his PhD from UC Berkeley. And he is currently leading teaching and researching information security at KAIST. He serves on the program committee of top-tier conferences such as IEEE, ACMCCS, Using Security, and NDSS. The second speaker is the Sang-Won Jung, CEO of EastSoft. Mr. Jung graduated from Seoul National University. He joined EastSoft, well known for its antivirus software, ALIA, and become CEO in 2016. EastSoft is transforming into AI company such as MetaHumans and virtual fitting commerce. Mr. Jung is currently the chairman of the Service Innovation Committee of the Korea Software Industry Association. The third presentation is Professor Im Yong of Seoul National University Law School. Professor Im received his SJD from Harvard Law School and serves as the director of Seoul National University AI Policy Initiative. Im served as both international professor at UPenn Law School in the United States in 2023. The fourth speaker is Professor Ian Oakley from KAIST. Professor Oakley received his PhD from the University of Glasgow. He researches the design and the development of new interactive technology to help people effectively utilize next generation smart wearable devices. Professor Oakley has served as a visiting professor at MIT at Carnegie Mellon University. Before we begin this session, let me outline the time allocation. Keynote speech will be allowed 15 minutes, followed by a 10 minutes presentation for each speaker. Given the time limit, I kindly ask everyone to adhere to the time limits. Now, Professor Byung-Eun Kang, please make your presentation. Thank you.
Hello, it's a great honor to be here to present some of the AI safety recent issues at this Jeju forum. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Brent Kang. I'm a professor at KAIST, and today I'm going to give you a little bit of some concerns and worries, and yet we may have some solutions to it too. So, have you heard of this moratorium? Let's pause AI research for 6 months. I think it's because of the unprecedented advancement of recent AI research. It gives us quite an excitement that AGI, artificial general intelligence, may be feasible in near term, and yet there's a serious concern that what if those super powerful AI can be utilized against humanity itself. So, and because of that, let's take a little bit of time. Let's go slowly. So that's the idea of having this moratorium. So the concerning about this AI advancement is not a news anymore. So everyone has a little concern. So then let's think about what is artificial general intelligence and see whether you believe that the AGI is nearby or not. There is a view that the recent success of this generative AI based on LLM and ChatGPT, things like that, may be the sign of beginning of superintelligence. Some views that the GPT-2 that was only handle 1.5 billion parameters, now within 3 years, they were able to handle 175 billion parameters. And now soon, with this astronomical investment of this AI research, we expect that it will exceed the 1,000 trillion, which is greater than all human synapses in our brain. But not just parameters, and the computation based on the recent advancement in quantum computing, and also the fact that AI is made in a way that they can learn themselves through conversation and interaction with the humans, and it will make them more smarter too. So I don't know whether you believe that AGI is nearby or not, but I have some view that at least some area, the AGI may be more smarter than the human. So here's the recent result about someone believes that AGI, they passed the exam better than us. I mean, more than average. It's not top score yet, but it's getting better and better. GPT 3.5 and GPT 4, you can see those like a green light. Is that green? Yeah, green is the, so it's the improvement that they made in the recent GPT-4. And now the latest one, the GPT-4 Omni, they also got trained better with voice together. So it provides more faster response too. And that's just this month. It shows that the much better result than before. So it's getting better and better, especially the M3 exam benchmark is one of the LLM benchmark. And they showed a much better result. So, is this all the good stories? No, I think there are a couple of serious security threats associated with this advancement of AI. So, some of you may know about this prompt injection. The idea of prompt injection is that when you interact with the AI, you kind of deceiving AI in a manner that you can bypass some initial safety filter that AI service has put on, and by engaging in by manipulating the question prompt, and by utilizing that, you can make the AI to do things that it's not supposed to do. For example, you're not supposed to extract some the military-related data, for example, but you can cheat in a manner that the AI service can provide you such information. And better yet, I would say, or worse yet, AI has been utilized for creating many spam emails. What's the definition of spam email? It looks very legitimate, but it has some differences in it, right? And then we detect all these spams and all these malicious attack based on the signature, but that signature can change very easily because the attacker can utilize this generative AI to generate new instances of same contents, but it's different. It can be used for creating a fake news, for example, and manipulating comments and public opinions. And a phishing attack and spamming attacks are 10 times more easier and 1,000 times more easier thanks to this generative AI. And some are worried about the data poisoning attack. If they feed you the incorrect data or fake data, you train them, the AI model with it, then the AI model believes that's truth, right? That's another data poisoning attack as well. So what are the current approaches to mitigate these concerns and threats? The first easy ones is let's make AI extremely robust. So AI model itself, let's make it secure. And how? By creating some adversary example, by creating some cases where the AI may be deceived or some corner cases that AI make a wrong decision, then let's train them. And that's sort of the approach they took in adversarial machine learning and then training with the better data. That's sort of the making the AI model itself secure. The another aspect is artificial stupidity. In some way, trying to make the AI behave very much like an error-prone human. So they inject intentional the errors inside the AI to look like a human. But this can be also used as a limiting tools for AI. For example, AI cannot use certain number of powers, for example, and they intentionally limiting the AI capacity. So that's another approach which I believe it's not that feasible. And the third one is the one that's currently being adopted rapidly, trying to make AI explainable. In some way, when you get a decision from AI, if you know that why the AI came up with this decision and it can be explained, then you will be able to understand better. And then you can come up with the methodology to ensure and make sure the AI behaves safely. But I believe, as a computer scientist, I believe that the code that human generates always contains bugs and error, and because we're not perfect. So bug-free AI itself is not feasible goal. And the number of cases that we have to prove in AI, the number of parameters they have, they usually don't know why they came up with this decision. So it's very impossible to have a bug-free AI because we have no way of inspecting it. If it is a code that we can see, there is some method that we can do with a very limited scale, but not in the model that the AI is currently adopting. So I would say that it's impossible to have perfectly safe AI with 100% security. And then the real concern is that when we train the AI, it's a better AI, to make a better AI, the current focus is on just getting it more accurate and getting it more performance, having more powerful and behave more like humans. But there is a little consideration about whether the AI behaves to align with humans' best interest. So best for AI may not be the same, always same with the best for human. So situational context, some ethical dilemmas. AI may not know all the context that you have been raised, for example. So human may have far more deeper context than the AI itself. So the safety of AI service solely depend on AI is not something that we can depend on. So here's some approaches that we are started to think about. Because the AI model that that equipped with self-learning, it behaves, it shows a little bit of non-determinism in terms of behavior. Every code in general is a deterministic, but the way AI behaves and make a decision and answers it, there is some non-determinism, which means that with the same given input, you may get a different answers. So this non-deterministic behavior may be very difficult for us to handle by making the AI itself safe. So what is then the possible guidelines, the counter defense that we may have? So the idea is that, well, let's try to make another super powerful AI that can understand the AI's output, and yet it can help us. It can be trained only for making sure the safety boundary of the AGI's output in general. So basically, let's make a good AI on our side. And how we can achieve this good AI, here's a couple of options that we have. Let's create AI safety boundaries, and its enforcement can be verifiable and with the fully verified rules, instead of making this large-scale LLM or some like a unknown mixed mash the non-deterministic manner. And at least because it's only focused on AI safety boundary, I believe that we can have some reasonable code and that can be only focused on the safety monitoring. The specialized rule can be verified, and the specific models can have its own safety boundaries. It can be defined that way, and then we can only need to ensure the safety boundaries instead of making the AI entirely smart. So instead of making encyclopedia of the AGI, we can make a specialized AI that's focused on AI safety and boundary only. So we call them as AI, the agent idea, safety agent, safe boundary agent idea. Let's give up the hope that making the model safe. Instead, let's focus on making safety AI agent. So here's three key elements that we're proposing. So in terms of when we are interacting with AI with the input data, let's try to protect humans from AI's learning about your confidential information and private information. And there is some regularization of input that we can apply. There are a couple of techniques that we can do. Another one is when AI outputs the decision, and it has to be secure all the time. There is in the risk management the literature, there is a concept of fail-safe. When system fails, no matter what happens, at least it should be safe to human. So same thing goes here. When AI make a decision, it must be safe to humans. So that decision safe boundary idea. And then finally is a role versioning. Version is the different instances of same role. So we created like a super powerful AI, but their role is only limited for making it safer. So it's like making it, applying it different goals to different AI so that it can complement each other and make the decision more trustworthy. So that's sort of the key element that we've been thinking. So I'm trying to add all this together to a little bit on the policy and governance side. So recently, Korea has amended Privacy Act, and they introduced the term saying that if the decision is automated by, for example, like based on AI, then they should provide explainability when it was questioned. So when it is questioned, so right to explain is given, so which is more stronger than the EU GDPR. But that of itself is something very, it would pose a great hindrance to the current AI researchers. Why? The model itself cannot be explainable in general. So it's very difficult for them to bypass this. So as a safe harbor idea, meaning that we give them a little bit of room to breathe, if you follow that, if you additionally develop safety agent AI to safeguard your current AI's output, then we may be able to allow you, although you may not be able to explain your smarter AI, for example. So that may be some suggestion that we think of. So to sum up, I don't know whether you're a strong believer of super intelligence and AGI, and I don't think in my own view I may not see that it's coming when I'm alive, but I see that some of the areas, in certain area, I believe that we do have super AGI, the intelligence coming in. And the AI safety boundary agent takes on different approach. We gave up hope on making the AI itself extremely safe. Instead, we are trying to create specialized agent focused on safety boundary. And in terms of law and regulations, standard guidelines, I think if the law and standard conventions are formed in a manner that to encourage, if you want to try create the super powerful AI, then you need to show that you're creating the safety boundary agent that can provide a clear guidance so that the human's best interest can be preserved. Thank you. So we do Q&A at the end, right? Okay.
Nice to meet you. Well, in fact, the topic global collaboration on AI safety standards might not seem immediately tangible. When I first heard of this topic, it appeared ambiguous and challenging. Before talking about this topic, I have to admit that I have little notion of how to define AI safety, how this could be standardized, and where exactly global cooperation is needed. However, as I was preparing for today's talk, it became evident with the fact that AI safety is a critical issue, and it needs to be discussed proactively for the future of humanity. My presentation today serves as quick guide for those of you that had the confusion like me. Hope you find this topic helpful. If somebody asked what AI safety is on the surface, the answer seems straightforward. AI is a transformative technology that has the potential to change our whole lives. So naturally, its safety is crucial, right? However, there still remains many questions. Please acknowledge that people acknowledge that AI is a remarkable technology. It can effortlessly translate language, create images from text, and engage in conversation like a ChatGPT does. Yet, many express that in their everyday lives, they don't feel a significant impact from this advancement. They often say, it seems like nothing much has changed. However, from technical standpoint, it's crucial to recognize AI technology has many quantum leaps in two major areas. These may not be immediately apparent for you to see, but these advancements are the tools that will alter the structure of our lives fundamentally. In 2012, Professor Jeffrey Hinton introduced deep learning, cracking the long-standing computer science challenge of distinguishing between cat and dogs. It was a problem that had baffled experts for over 70 years. This marked the first quantum leap, enabling AI to recognize objects. The second leap came in 2023 with the advent of ChatGPT, which finally allowed AI to communicate with people in human language. Before ChatGPT, despite the prowess of deep learning, the cognitive aspect related to language felt like a thing of the future. Yet suddenly, we found ourselves leaping over the barriers. This linguistic cognition is just about writing and creating. It's about empowering previously obedient machines with the ability to understand and judge. Let's zoom out and look at the impact of AI from a broader perspective. During the Industrial Revolution, automation and division of labor dramatically increased manufacturing productivity. If you look at the graph, you will see that manufacturing productivity has skyrocketed way beyond what it was in the past. Our knowledge work, however, still heavily relies on human effort. Sure, computer and IT seem to boost the productivity of intellectual tasks, but we haven't seen any kind of mass production of automation in knowledge work, just like what happened in manufacturing. Therefore, there's a theory out there about the productivity paradox, which suggests that despite all this advancement, productivity hasn't really improved. But this productivity paradox will soon be a thing of the past. With AI, we will be able to tackle diverse tasks that only humans could handle before. This shift in productivity isn't simply about improving the quality of everyday services. This shift, it's actually about achieving unprecedented efficiency in producing the same services. Just as we still eat rice and wheat, but produce them much more efficiently, thanks to machinery and automation. AI will now bring incredible efficiency and productivity enhancement all across all sectors. That's why it's been hard to feel the full impact of AI influence. If you are on board with the powerful impact of AI from my perspective, let's consider why AI is so crucial. Personally, I spend a lot of time recruiting new employees. If you are the leader, you will probably go through the same problems as I do. It is time-consuming. So I'd like to take hiring practice as an example. Now imagine if this process were automated using AI, what could go wrong? AI learns from past data. So if the historical hiring data is biased against certain groups, races, or genders, then AI could end up making decisions based on these biases. And this kind of unfairness could persist, all in the name of automation and efficiency. By examining previous hiring examples only, we can already identify several key requirements for AI safety. Take a look at the slide. Data handling, we need to carefully select, process, and manage data to avoid biases. Transparency is very important. This has two different interpretations. First, it's crucial that users of the system are clearly informed that AI is being used to evaluate a candidate. Second, it's about accountability. When a decision has been made, it should explain how and why such a conclusion came up. This will ensure that the system is fair, therefore trustful. Ethical consideration. Is it appropriate to use AI assist for hiring? These ethical considerations have been taken into account for a long time, and initiatives like EU AI Act are pioneering efforts to address these issues. And security. From ethical perspective, the pioneering EU AI Act, agreed upon in March 2024, it categorized AI applications into 5 based on their intended uses, incorporating a significant amount of ethical consideration into these categories. Among these, I want to mention 2 important ones. Unacceptable risk. AI use is prohibited in scenarios that include applications designed to manipulate human behavior, employ remote biometric identification, such as facial recognition in public space, and social scoring. High risk. These AI applications pose significant threat to health, safety, or fundamental human rights. Notable example includes AI systems used in healthcare, education, recruitment, and law enforcement. Can standardization enhance safety? This becomes clear to understand when you look at how standardization has been linked to safety in other industries. Take the aviation industry, for example. Every aircraft component and operational procedure must be manufactured, inspected, and maintained according to the strict international standard. This ensures the safety of the aircraft and minimizes the risk of accident during flight. Similarly, for AI, consider the example of AI in recruitment. Once again, standardizing recruitment training data will ensure that it's free from racial or gender biases. Such data standardization would enhance the fairness and safety of the AI applications. almost done. Approaching it this way, the concept of AI safety standardization, which might have seemed ambiguous and complex at first, but now becomes more definite and clear. I believe that defining AI categories globally, similar to the EU AI Act, and clearly defining the roles and duties of AI providers for each category is of utmost importance. Lethal robot, for example, should be categorized to be prevented from advancing competitions. Consider medical AI. By standardizing and sharing the training data publicly, it can minimize the risk of errors and ensure interoperability, all in the interest of universal human well-being. Today, I started with why AI is important, then moved on to why safety is crucial, the factors that need consideration for safety, the benefits of standardization, and finally, a brief overview of global cooperation. I hope this lecture has been helpful as we conclude. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. It's truly a privilege to share the floor with our fellow panelists. I'm a lawyer by training, and I don't get the opportunity to speak together with computer scientists, entrepreneurs, and people in other fields, and so this really is an honor. I'm sure you enjoyed the first two presentations. I did, and I learned a lot. And what I'd like to do with the few minutes I have is to talk about some of the challenges when we talk about AI standards from the perspective of law. All right, so now everybody is talking about AI governance, and not only at the national level, but also the global level. And it's almost striking as a person that looks at regulation. I am an antitrust person, a competition law, and so my field of expertise is in regulation. And this swell of interest in trying to prevent the risks and harms arising from this new transformative technology is truly striking. But when we look at the current landscape of global AI governance, there is, or at least there seems to be, a splintering occurring at this time. Now, there are many ideas out there on how to or how we should govern AI. And rightly so, because we're all in the process or stage of experimenting with this new technology. And some people have pointed out that globalization has also transformed recently into what you would call not a flat world, but more of a world of clubs and fences, where you have spheres of influence based on geopolitical and security concerns. This seems also to be a possibility for AI governance. So you do have the EU AI Act out there, which is what we call a risk-based approach, as our speaker elaborated in his presentation. But you also have other approaches, such as an effects-based, principle-based, outcome-based. There's all sorts of different ideas and approaches competing with one another. And this has now coincided with a shift from ethics to actionable normative guardrails. Now, the EU, in enacting its AI Act, I believe, is hoping and is in part expecting to regenerate what was called the Brussels effect from the GDPR. So if you look at the privacy world, the GDPR definitely had an impact. And I think the EU was hoping that when it staked out its ground on AI, that the world would also follow. Well, there are many reasons to believe that will not be the case for AI. I won't elaborate on why that will be the case, but the nature of the technology, the underlying geopolitical security concerns, the industrial policy implications, all of that has come together to raise doubts about a Brussels effect for AI governance. And that is also true for Korea. We are still, and I think the same for Japan as well, as I see many Japanese in the audience as well. So we are all grappling with trying to find out the most beneficial, the most safe, but at the same time, the most innovation-conducing approach for governance. So there is definitely a possibility of the global governance environment fracturing into non-interoperable spheres. So what happens with standards? Now, standards, when we talk about AI global governance, is and will become the true new battleground. Everyone is talking about standards. Standards will become part of technology, part of industry, and part of law. Now, this is not a new phenomenon. Standards, we've been working with them, working with this tool for a very long time, and in many cases very successfully, as, for example, in the aviation industry and also elsewhere. So, standards, especially in the field of international trade, has shown that it can play the role of what I would call a lubricant for the global economy. So lowering transaction costs, increasing safety, and really benefiting all who wish to invest and trade in the technology or the product. At the same time, we've also experienced standards as an impediment to this type of trade, or you might say interoperability, being used as a tool for barriers and a tool for industrial competition. So in that sense, standards, harmonization of standards will be crucial to ensure interoperability between these different competing AI governance regimes. So what are some of the challenges that I see at this time? First of all, we will be trying to harmonize in the shadow of ambiguity. The EU Act, also other governance schemes, including the bill that will soon lapse in the National Assembly of Korea, but was considered for a while, talks about human rights, talks about fundamental rights. But what is human rights? What is fairness? What is equity? That is a concept that has a lot of ambiguity, is steeped in history, culture, context, and so there's very little often that we can agree. So how do you standardize? How do you come up with standards that people can agree on how to assess risk to a particular fundamental right? That will be a huge challenge. Another challenge will be coordination between the different assessment bodies, institutions, and also between lawyers, technologists, policymakers, and the industry. When we talk about standardization itself, standard-setting bodies will play a crucial role. And now there is a push among different countries to come up with so-called AI safety institutes. The same for Korea. Japan already has its own safety institute. The UK, US, everybody is trying to do that. The issue here is this. Each institute, under its own governance mechanism, under its own legal regime, will have different mandates, different processes, and different objectives. So how do you overcome this heterogeneity to ensure that we can come up with standards that are harmonized, standards that ensure the interoperability that we seek? I don't think that we will ever come up with a singular or horizontal standard that works everywhere for every domain, every model, every system. But I think it will be crucial that we try to continue a dialogue between these different institutions, entities, parties within our societies, not only at the national level, but also at the global level, to overcome these challenges so that we can all achieve what we want to make a better world. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain questions during the Q&A period. Thank you very much.
Ian Oakley, Professor can access.
Hello. Do you hear me? Do you see my slides? Okay, thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Ian Oakley. Thank you for the invitation to speak. And also thank you to my co-panelists, who I learned also a great deal from in their insightful and interesting talks. I'm Ian Oakley. I'm a faculty member at KSDE. And today I'm going to talk to you again, address what I can about AI safety. As an academic, I'm not going to talk so much about policy, but a little bit about how AI safety legislation may be impacting some of the areas I do know about. So I'm going to start with a kind of high-level overview and ask a question. Do any of you have a PDOOM number? For those of you that don't know what this is, PDOOM is kind of a meme. It's a PDOOM number is a probability that you believe that AI will kill us all or create some other cataclysm that will end humanity. So this is a kind of a meme that is taking over some of the public debate about AI, this kind of quite grand claims. For example, this was in the New York Times at the end of last year. And indeed, this kind of focus in the public debate has led this to be posed to many luminary figures. For example, the godfathers of AI, Yan Yu-kun, Jeffrey Hinton, and Yoshua Bengao, have all been asked and all volunteered their PDOOM numbers. And these vary quite considerably, from Yan Yu-kun having a very slight chance of doom, through Jeffrey Hinton having quite a worrying 10%, up until quite a concerning prediction from Yoshua Bengao of up to 20%. And because this is a really fascinating and intriguing topic to speak about, when we start addressing AI in these types of terms, we actually get a lot more dramatic statements. For example, Jeffrey Hinton, in a discussion of this issue, has been drawn to say things such as a prediction that we are toast, that AI is going to represent the end of history. So when we talk about AI safety, this kind of narrative is really dominating a lot of the public discourse. If we drill down into this issue of PDOOM a little bit further, we see that it's generally composed of two slightly more nuanced issues. And so basically, your PDOOM is often attributed to your opinion about two factors. One is control, and one is alignment. And so control basically refers to how you think humanity will remain in control of advanced general intelligence. So basically, do we think that as we create such systems, will humanity retain agency over those, or will they be out of our control and really impossible to keep hold of? And then the second is alignment, which also cropped up in one of the other talks. And so alignment is representing how much you think that AI we create will share the same values that we do versus not share those values. So the idea here is that an AI that we can control and that is well aligned with our values will be quite a safe and friendly AI. One that is out of control and doesn't share our values will be exactly the opposite and represent a substantial threat. Okay, so this is obviously really fascinating, and indeed, like I say, we do see a lot of the public debate about AI tackling this and many other issues. However, I want to say that this is really best considered really prospective risks. So here we are speculating about a future which may be coming, but we heard today some people doubt it may come in their lifetimes, but it certainly isn't here yet. And I feel like while this is really interesting, this kind of public discourse about these issues is really dominating over a discussion of current harms, which may in fact be more relevant. For example, the current harms of AI, again, are widely known. We've covered some of them today and clearly documented in their own right. For example, they span issues such as the environmental impact of AI. To cherry pick a statistic, as you may know, ChatGPT consumes greatly more energy, up to 25 times as much as a Google search. So when you engage in this type of technology use, we start to have a much greater environmental footprint. This is a clear harm of AI. There's also issues which, again, I think haven't really cropped up in today's session. In terms of monopolies and market stagnation, we must know that due to the complexity and size of AI models, that many of the companies that are producing these models, we might say these are means of production or means of work, are the same companies that own means of distributions. So companies like Google and Facebook. And so this sort of augurs ill for the general population as we create new forms of these highly advanced technological monopolies. And then finally, in terms of the current harms, and we have heard about these today, are in various types of technology misuse. So for example, widely known misuse would include things like copyright infringement into training models. We heard a discussion today about content generation, like deep fakes or news content for election interference and so forth. We also heard about biases and discrimination and so forth. Okay, so these current harms, in some sense, as we sort of popularize a discussion of the big issues in AI, I feel like there's kind of a little bit of a stifling of the debate of the smaller issues. But these things are important because when we actually talk about legislation, they tend to focus on these smaller issues. In particular, we've heard about the EU's Pioneering AI Act today, which is mainly focused on sort of looking at technology misuse. So I want to drill down now and talk about a case that I know something about in this area of technology misuse. The particular technology I want to talk about is emotion recognition. So emotion recognition, very briefly, is just trying to determine how people feel and based on using AI, based on some signals that we capture. This is a model of emotion that's widely used in psychology, suggesting that we can be kind of happy, sad to happy, and sort of quiet to active. And so, for example, we can be excited, which is an active happy state, or bored, which is a passive negative state. This is relevant to AI because it's been widely observed that we can detect many aspects of our emotions using AI technologies. For example, we can take data from sensors to detect our faces, cameras or other sensors, and use those to infer our emotions. We can equally do this from more discrete sources. For example, how you operate your phone, the apps you use, the periods you use your device, and so forth can also be used to infer our emotions. And then finally, sensors like our wearable devices, which have some physiological types of sensors, can also use to be infer our emotions. These are kind of technologies that we can widely access, and many of us have day to day. And so AI technologies can really figure out what we're doing. So what does the EU's AI Act say about such technology? It actually has an extreme opinion. And so emotion recognition technologies under the EU's AI Act are classified as unacceptable risk. And so this is the highest level of the restriction. Effectively, they are barred. And specifically what the Act says is it prohibits the use of AI systems to infer emotions in workplace settings, except in some very, very specific circumstances, like for safety or for medical reasons. So these technologies are in effect barred under this act. So if we look at the reality of the world today, so if we're barring these technologies, as I say, these technologies are quite well established. What does it look like? Well, it doesn't take much to find emotion recognition technologies. I went online, searched. This is a website, Morphcast. It provides, just grabs a webcam and performs emotion recognition based on your facial features. For example, at the bottom, it's categorizing my emotions on 6 different states. And then we actually have an affect and valence category on the right. So this technology is widely available. It's just a webcam and straight out of the box. And what are the kind of scenarios this company is selling this technology for? Well, these have some sort of dystopian type of perspective. So for example, one of them we are also heard about today is in recruitment. So one of the key aspects is in human resources. So it suggests that this type of emotion recognition technology can be integrated into a recruitment process in order to evaluate candidates based on the emotion or perhaps aspects of their personality as they go through interview. They also suggest that other key use cases would be in marketing and advertising. So they could deliver targeted content to people based on their emotional reactions to content that they're viewing. And then also in personalization and customization. So again, they can create kind of filter bubbles or determine what media you see based on your emotional reaction to existing media. So these are all kind of relatively, I think, dystopian use cases that might not have the values of the end users at heart, and actually be trying to really focus on the needs of the commercial enterprises that might purchase and use such functionality. So we might assume from this that the EU is right. This technology is high risk, and it actually does deserve to be banned. But personally, I feel that while these use cases are worrying, I also feel that there is a missed opportunity here, because actually our emotions are extremely important. For example, our workplaces are stressful, and they go more and more stressful every year. In fact, the workplace stress also impacts younger generations more significantly. And indeed, the outcomes of workplace stress lead to both mental and physical health problems. So our workplaces are stressful. So we do experience significant emotions in our work that do matter. If we can use AI to detect those states, maybe AI could actually benefit us as well as enact harm. Or in general computer use, to give another example, much computer use is actually associated with also effective and emotional experiences. For example, social media use is widely associated with effective experiences. In particular, those effective experiences for certain populations can be quite damaging. For example, there's a widely known effect of social media in young women in terms of their mental state. So it's been associated with depression or even more severe acts such as self-harm. And so basically our experiences when we use technologies have emotions. Emotions are relevant to those experiences. And if we can detect those emotions, perhaps actually we could try to aid people as opposed to basically support the businesses that might be running those technologies. So these states are trackable, as I said. And in fact, there's a lot of evidence from the academic literature that suggests we can track emotions well. For example, if we are in a workplace setting, the data just captured from your mouse and keyboard is a more effective predictor of your stress than data from physiological sensors that are designed to detect stress chemicals. Or alternatively, we also know that mobile phones are a great source of tracking mood. So if we just look at how you use, how you touch and move your phone, we can track mood accurately over the course of several months. Or in my own work, I've looked at how eye tracking can be used to detect triggers during social media browsing. So basically how you look at your social media feed can be used to detect triggering content that may be eliciting negative emotions as you view that content. And if we can do this, if we can actually integrate this kind of technology into people's devices, now we can actually empower them to take more control over their states and actually hopefully improve their well-being. For example, we could increase the awareness of their stress during the workplace. We could recommend actions that might help maintain their health, such as taking breaks when they reach certain stress levels and so forth. Or we could even obscure content that might be damaging or might be eliciting these negative affective states. So all of these technologies would be banned under the EU's Act. So my conclusion is that the high-level debate about the kind of very dramatic aspects of AI safety is kind of hiding or obscuring a more nuanced and rich debate that needs to take place over the very detailed aspects of AI legislation. For example, obviously there are many harms, but I feel like we're also potentially missing out on the many possible benefits of such technologies. And so the regulations that we have, say, for example, under the EU, I know from personal discussions with researchers in this area, are disincentivizing research in this topic, and also disincentivizing best practices, such as releasing data sets in this area. And so I feel like we have a potential, potentially we are at risk of failing to capitalize on the benefits of current AI for kind of the fear or this debate that is looking at the potentials of future AI. So it's basically this high-level debate on prospective risks is distracting from a discussion of the real harms and the potential value of AI. And ultimately, this may stifle innovation and prevent users from benefiting from today's AI while also failing to protect against some of the harms. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to the question session coming up.
Thank you, all the speakers, for their presentations. In summary, Professor Gang said that because AI is currently being used as a tool for important decision making, it could have a serious impact on humans. Therefore, he proposed the concept of AI safety boundary agents to response. Also, CEO Jung Sung-won told about the efficiency of knowledge productivity through AI. He told about the importance of unbiased learning, ethical guidance, and standardization. Professor Lim spoke about the importance of mutual cooperation and standardization. For AI governance for the development of AI-driven global economy. Finally, Professor Ian Oakley has said that high-level discussion of AI risks can confuse a discussion about actual harm and potential value. So this hinders human innovation and prevents users from benefiting from today's AI. So now, next we'll start with Professor Kang and listen to additional comment in about 5 minutes.
One of the things that I learned from this panel, and maybe I'd like to share with you, all of you in the audience. The Professor Ian Oakley's points on that it's stifling to ban certain aspect of research. I'm appalled, and I'm a little bit. I didn't know that the EU actually enacted such act. So, which is a very appalling because I'm a very strong proponent of making AI safer, and yet. And then safety boundary is something that I am strongly proposing about. But by limiting the very technology that we can be protected against the potential danger of AI, of itself could be very dangerous. So I strongly feel that understanding the emotion, I'm just curious why they banned such technology. Maybe here's my guess. Maybe it could be wrong, but my guess is that in terms of interaction, when we interact with other people, before they say anything or without actual word, I like to know the real answer. Maybe that emotion and the face recognition, beyond the face recognition, understanding emotion means that I like to understand your state, whether you want to reveal it or not. And that of itself can be misused very easily. That may be the reason that they try to ban this research. However, that same thing can be used used for protecting humans. Elders or many people are deceived by very good con men, for example. Maybe there's some maybe uncommon case, but it can be used to protect the little children from being kidnapped by, when they kidnap, they're not just grabbing them, right? They're usually making very personable approach, right? Here, kids, and I'm so and so, things like that. So AI can be my best agent and protector. So in that regard, I think instead of banning certain aspect of research, I would like to propose that maybe when they do certain aspect of research, it's their obligation at the same time. They need to define potential misuse case, and then furthermore, they need to come up with counter mechanisms and making that counter mechanism as advanced as possible at the same rate. Then I think we may have a very good balance. It's up to human who can choose, right? If the human is by nature very peace-loving and they don't harm each other, I don't think we'll have this discussion here at all because they never misuse it. But so in that regard, I think I'm more proposing in a way that when they work on certain key aspect of research and at the same time they are obligated or by law they need to produce at least a couple number of potential danger cases and then putting the same amount of research money. If they put an astronomical amount of money on this side and they need to put astronomical money on this side to create another the same capable AI with that can counter and make a protection against potential danger. Maybe that's my comment. Right? Thank you.
우리가 이제 이 AI 관련돼서 이야기를 할 때 좀 뭐랄까 뭔가를 과장해서 좀 과하게 말하고 대응하는 경향이 있는 게 있거든요. 근데 실제로 아까 제가 말씀드린 것처럼 AI가 엄청난 기술적 혁신을 가져온 건 맞아요. 진짜 컴퓨터 업계에서 수십 년간 못 풀던 인식 문제, 분류 문제를 풀고 이제는 그 말을 할 수 있을까? 이해를 할까? 이런 것들을 해냈잖아요. 그건 엄청난 브레이크스루가 맞거든요. 그래서 여기에 대해서 이제 사람들이 막연히 가지고 있는 거죠. 야, AI가 이렇게 대단한데 이제 세상 뭐 어떻게 끝나는 거 아니야? 우리 일자리 다 뺏는 거 아니야? 이러다 보니까 이거 빨리 이거에 대한 안정성에 대해서 얘기해야 돼. 뭔가 지금 일어나고 있는 일의 크기에 비해서 이제 안정성 얘기하니까 야, 이것도 표준화도 얘기되는 거 아니야? 또 표준화를 얘기하니까 야, 이거 글로벌리 어떻게 되는 거 아니야? 이런 식으로 막 퍼져나가는 거거든요. 근데 문제는 이제 아까 전에 오클리 교수님이나 이 교수님 말씀하신 것처럼 이 표준화라는 게 좋게 말하면은 되게 긍정적인 느낌이거든요, 표준화. 근데 다른 말로 하면 이게 규제예요, 규제. 그러니까 규제라는 거는 결국 어떤 혁신들을 막는 도구가 되거든요. 그래서 이 표준화를 빨리 한다라는 게 다른 말로 하면은 이 규제를 빨리 해야 된다라는 얘기로 바꿀 수가 있고 실제로 유럽에서는 이런 글로벌 스탠다드라는 이름에서 이 규제 논의에 선제에 서 있어요, 지금. 그런데 문제는 EU가 이런 어떤 철학적, 도덕적 논의에서는 항상 뭔가 빨리 가요. 빨리 가서 실제로 그런 것들을 적용해서 발전시켜야 될 따라가는 나라들, 어떻게 보면 우리나라도 그쪽에 따라가는 나라거든요. 에서는 기술적 어떤 지능 정책보다도 벌써 규제에 대한 얘기들을 많이 하고 지금 그 고위험 리스크라고 하이 리스크라고 하는 것들이 이미 너무 많이 퍼져 있어요. 근데 실질적으로 이 기술이 그러할 만한가? 우리는 그렇게 생각하잖아요. AI는 세상 바꿔버릴 거야. 그런데 아까 그 오클리 교수님이 얘기했던 그 3명의 고르들 중에 이안 루쿤 같은 교수는 최근에도 야, 지금 기술로는 그런 AGI 될 수 없어. 일반 인공지능 될 수 없어. 다른 게 필요해. 이렇게 말할 정도거든요. 그래서 우리가 이 기술에 대해서 제가 볼 때는 좀 알아야 되는 게 있어요. 막연하게 우와 대단해가 아니라 이 기술이라는 게 기본적으로는 이런 한계가 있어라는 거를 어느 정도 직관적으로 알아야지 이게 엉뚱한 규제로서 딱 만들어져 가지고 우리의 혁신을 방해하지 않을 수 있거든요. 예를 들어서 아까 전에 제가 그 프레젠테이션 중에서 그 투명성 얘기했잖아요. 투명성이 두 가지가 있고, 한 가지는 내가 쓰는 어떤 시스템이 실제로 AI에 의해서 적용되고 있다는 것을 나는 알아야 된다. 그런 것도 투명하게 공개된다라는 거는 되게 간단한 문제예요. 그건 맞죠. 근데 또 하나의 투명성이 뭐냐면 어떤 AI 시스템이 어떤 결과를 내보냈을 때 그것이 설명 가능해야 된다라는 건데, 그리고 이미 그 많은 EU 그 AI 액트 같은 데서는 그런 걸 해야 된다라고 이미 좀 명시적으로 하고 있는데, 문제는 이 설명 가능하다라는 게 진짜 가능한지가 좀 생각을 해봐야 된다는 문제는 거죠. 우리는 뭐 쉽게 그냥 야 그거 AI가 그렇게 했으니까 이거 당연히 그 결과에 대해서 책임지고 설명해야 되는 거 아니야? 라고 하지만 기본적으로 지금의 AI는 딥러닝으로 만든 거고, 딥러닝은 우리의 뇌를 모방한 거예요. 뇌를 모방한 건데, 그러니까 뭔가가 기술적으로 설명 가능하다라는 거는 다시 말하면 우리가 뇌의 구조를 다 알고 뇌가 왜 그렇게 작동을 하는지를 안다는 거하고 동치거든요. 사실 그게 잘 안 돼요. 예를 들어서 지금 이제 챗GPT가 있어. 수학 문제를 딱 내. 수학 문제를 풀었어요. 그러면 물어보죠. 야, 너 이거 왜 이렇게 풀었어? 그러면은 그 수학 문제 증명을 제대로 설명을 하면 아, 그렇구나라고 넘어갈 수가 있는데, 만약에 잘못 풀었다. 그럼 물어보죠. 챗GPT한테. 너 왜 이렇게 잘못 풀었어? 사람 같은 경우는 너 왜 잘못 풀었어? 제가 잘 몰라서 그렇고요. 제가 잘못 읽어서 그렇고 라고 하면 믿고 넘어가죠. 근데 기계한테는 그게 안 통해. 너 왜 이거 잘못 풀었는지를 설명해봐. 당연히 얘는 그거 설명 못합니다. 그러면 그 밑단을 봐야 돼요. 얘가 도대체 과거에 뭘 읽었고 어떤 확률로서 이런 그 단어들을 내뱉고 하는 것들을 설명을 해야 되는데, 사실 그거 제가 보기엔 불가능하거든요. 왜? 뇌를 모사했기 때문에 우리가 뇌의 작용을 알 수 없단 말이에요, 아직까지. 근데 이런 식으로 그냥 덜컥하고 이 스탠다디제이션이라는 표준화라는 명목으로 야 이제는 그런 거 AI가 대단하니까 그 결과물에 대해서 설명 가능해야 되라는 거를 넣어버리게 되었을 때 이게 가져오는 혁신에 대한 걸림돌이라는 게 어마무시하다는 거죠. 예. 근데 실질적으로 기술자들이 이런 스탠다디제이션 논의를 이끌어가는 게 아니라 많은 이해관계들이 섞여가지고 이걸 만들다 보니까 막연한 AI에 대한 두려움과 기술에 대한 그런 것들로 인해 가지고 선제적으로 뭔가 좀 막아버리는 듯한 느낌이 있다라는 거. 그래서 우리가 이 규제, 그러니까 특히 스탠다디제이션 규제 논의를 할 때는 기술에 대한 이해를 바탕으로 조목조목 따져볼 필요가 있다라는 것을 좀 강조드리고 싶습니다. 네.
I think we've heard a lot of concerns with the EU's approach in this panel today. And I think it actually proves my point that it is less likely that we will be witnessing a Brussels effect for AI. I share probably all of the concerns that our panelists have raised today, and I won't repeat that. Now, just for the sake of discussion, I'm going to try to make a positive case for standards. Now, I completely agree that standardization or standards will be used as part of regulatory competition. And the EU AI Act does call for standards by including a provision that says if you meet our standards, you will enjoy a presumption of conformity. So there you have the current sort of trend of how standards will be used. And that is not peculiar for the EU. Every nation will have its own standards. Now, the reason why harmonization or the reason why we need to engage in dialogue on standards is because from a business perspective, like Mr. Zhang, who wants to access a global market, if you have different standards that have splintered into under different regimes, different requirements, then that increases the cost of business, stunts innovation, as many are worried today, and also could result in a loss of much of the benefit that we hope to get from AI. So that's why you need to harmonize. Now, you're not going to have complete harmonization in the sense that it is completely the same. No, we're not trying to achieve that. More, I think, what we'll try to do, what will end up being the likely scenario is you have different standards for each nation. However, there's some level of harmonization. And so through these institutes or standard setting body, a business is able to predict what he or she, the entrepreneur, has to do or how to develop or deploy their product or service to meet the different standards. As long as there's clarity there, and as long as there's sufficient information, sufficient dialogue and cooperation there, then we'll be able to navigate the emerging global landscape of AI governance. And I think to achieve that end game and to achieve it with less cost and less conflict, there is a need to talk about standards despite all of the concerns raised today. And I'd like to actually point out or share something that I learned from interviewing one of an entrepreneur in Korea that actually seconds what Professor Oakley said. So when we talk about chatbots, we're obviously very concerned about toxic comments, about the chatbot engaging in offensive language, or for example, biased or discriminative dialogue. And so, as many of you know, in Korea, the Luda League scandal sparked a lot of backlash. And so it actually ended in scraping the model, and Scatterlab had to relaunch or remake its chatbot. Now, other chatbot providers, one more or less famous competitor was Simshimi. And Simshimi saw what happened with Iruda. And so it really tried to make its chatbot fair, non-biased, basically safe. Simshimi CEO told me during an interview, we were talking about, okay, how do we conceive of an approach, a human rights-based approach to new and emerging technologies, including AI. And he said the one immediate response he got from users that some were very unhappy about the responses, and many of those users were actually mentally challenged users. So they had actually gotten comfort from a more engaging, more, in a sense, context-oriented Simshimi, whereas now with all the guardrails and safety measures, they felt that Simshimi wasn't helping them overcome their mental challenges. And he actually highlighted that and said, look, regulation is good, and Simshimi is one of the companies that have really tried to go in the forefront of deploying these guardrails, but he said it really is also stifling to the very people who need Simshimi to benefit from it in a way that we want to, in a human rights respecting manner. And so I think that's a cautionary tale, and I would second that, what many of our panelists, including Professor Oakley, said today.
yeah, thank you for these insightful comments. So I just wanted to make a small clarification. So the EU's AI Act doesn't ban research on any topic. It bans products, or it doesn't ban products, it creates restrictions for different products. But the restrictions on products will also ultimately disincentivize research. So for example, in my experience, I encountered in a recent conference, actually just last week, a German group that was working on emotion recognition, and they declined to publish their data set, which they plan to do, for fear of infringing on these regulations. So basically this is a ways that it's impacting research implicitly, because we cannot, in many cases, create products in this space. So yeah, so the AI Act is not impacting research directly, but it then has a lot of impacts on what we can look at. I would also say that I am in favor of regulation of AI. Also, I may have come across a little bit strong. However, I feel like we need a much more nuanced debate about what those regulations should be, because obviously I think we all acknowledge that the first draft of the EU's AI Act, as it were, this initial legislation, seems to be perhaps not an ideal balance between protecting users and then also stifling innovations and the benefits to users. So it's really that regulation needs further discussion is the point I'm trying to make, rather than the regulation is inherently bad. I also actually, I don't want to speak long because we're really close to time, but I'm actually really fascinated about the comments about the Brussels effect and the GDPR. So I'm not in policy. So actually what I observed from the GDPR was this strong Brussels effect, which I found to be actually surprising. And I expected, perhaps naively, that this Brussels effect would also occur with the EU's AI Act. So I was really interested to hear Professor Lim today discuss that this is unlikely to happen. And actually, if we have a few moments left, I would like actually to hear more about this issue. So what are the factors that are making this less likely? Perhaps you can expand a little bit more on that.
Yeah, we don't have much time. We have 2 minute limit. So we have a pre discussion is possible. Just keep going. We have a pre discussion. But we have 2 minutes left. So just closing, or just go talk a bit more.
I like to make one comment that I totally agree. That's why the making AI a standard or regularized so that they had to be safe, and then we have case like a 심심이. So my point is, the contexts are all different from each person. So if you're investing in 심심이, then you better investing in equal amount of effort to make 심심이 safe for some users who want to utilize that. So for example, internet, when it first comes out, everyone can have access to everything, including very bad stuff that you should not see it, right? Now, the same technology can be utilized for making the filter. For people who want to protect their children, it's their option. For others, they don't need it. So I think we should incorporate that approach when you try to think about standardization or regularization. So when it comes to the policy, I'm thinking more of policy. When they are investing in the NSF, for example, or NRF Korea, and they're giving out the money to make the AI faster or better, more human-like, then they better put in the same amount of effort, the effort that who can mitigate the danger, they focus on that aspect. So it's more broadly of the investment side of distribution, rather than coming up with a specific regulation saying that, oh, you better make your AI safer and make it, and it becomes useless in some cases, like a 심심이 case. So I think I'd like to emphasize my point is that I'm not proponent of making AI safer itself. It's the opposite. Let it be, but we need to focus on the other side too. That's the 1 cent here. Thank you.
So this session is already close, but do you audience have any questions for this AI safety or standardization?
그러니까 이제 AI가 뭔가 저는 제주 한라대학교 건강일본학과 1학년 김지현이라고 하고요. 그 AI가 보안 잠시만요. AI가 위협을 줄 수가 있어가지고 그런 얘기를 꺼냈던 것 같은데, 이제 만약에 AI가 교육을 받는다고 하면은 저희 인간 같은 경우에는 욕망이라든가 감정으로 인해서 실수를 하는 경우가 생기잖아요. 그래가지고 이제 그런 교육 자체를 저희 인간이 하는 게 아니라 AI가 하는 게 어떤지에 대한 생각을 해봤거든요. 그래가지고 저희 인간들은 역사로 보자면은 그 전부터 처음부터 시작해가지고 뭔가 얘기를 꺼내거나 해가지고 살아갔잖아요. 근데 그 과정에서도 실수를 하다 보니까 그 전에 있었던 일들 반복이 되는 거고 잘못이 계속 되는 거잖아요. 근데 AI 같은 경우는 그런 걸 한번 알아두면은 그런 실수를 반복하지 않으니까, 그러면 이제 AI들을 좀 만들어가지고 하나의 세상을 만들어가지고 그들이 처음부터 시작해서 살아가면서 그들이 느끼는 걸 규제로 정해가지고 저희가 그 규제에 대해 이해를 하면서 그런 표준을 만들어간 게 어떨까 생각이 들었어요. 네, 그만 이상입니다.
네, 그 질문이 조금 모호하긴 한데 일단 그냥 캐치된 키워드에서 교육과 AI라는 측면은 좀 많이 생각해본 주제라 짧게 말씀을 좀 드리면, 저는 교육을 이제 우리가 전통적으로 사람이 했던 교육들 있잖아요. 뭔가를 가리키는 일을 AI가 대체하는 거는 전 인류에게 꽤 좋을 거라 생각이 들어요. 그러니까 교육이라는 거를 전 두 가지로 나눴으면 좋겠어요. 하나는 정보적인 거, 지식 전달의 교육이 있고, 하나는 인성, 철학 이런 교육이 있잖아요. 이걸 좀 분리해서 전자는 AI에게, 후자는 사람에게 하면 좋겠다라는 생각을 가지고 있고, 그랬을 때 조금 더 우리가 지금 가지고 있는 교육의 문제들 있잖아요. 특히 한국 같은 경우에 선생님과의 학생들과의 학부모의 이런 갈등들을 상당 부분 해소할 수 있다라는 점에서 매우 좋다 생각을 하고, 그리고 교육이 좋은 점은, AI에게 맡기기 좋은 점은 지금의 이 딥러닝은요, 어쨌든 뭔가를 잘못 말하고 잘못 가르칠 가능성이 있어요. 왜냐? 보세요. AI라는 게 어떤 유한한 그 하드웨어에다가 거의 무한한 정보를 넣는 거라고 생각하시면 돼요. 그러면 그게 다 담기겠어요? 그냥 물리적으로 불가능해. 그러니까 AI는 그냥 실수를 하는 거예요. 그러면은 이 AI를 쓰는 곳들이 정교하게 정확해야 되는 것보다는 조금 실수해도 괜찮은 데부터 쓰는 게 좋거든요. 그랬을 때 제가 볼 때 교육은 괜찮아요. 왜냐하면 우리가 조금 연도 틀려도 잘못 외운다, 뭐 조금 증명을 잘못한다, 언어에서 조금 다른 표현을 배운다고 해가지고 크게 난리 나진 않거든. 대부분 제대로 가르쳐 줄 테니까. 그런 부분에서 교육에 AI를 적용하는 것도 좋다고 생각이 들고, 그리고 나서 이제 뒤에 이제 그런 AI들이 뭔가 이제 새를 이루고 했을 때 그것들을 규제하고 바운더리를 칠 수 있는 영역들은 이제 분명히 우리가 이제 중요하게 생각을 하고 얘기할 부분이라고 생각을 합니다. 네.
So I wanted to, I know the time's up, but I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just making a few observations. The question is very good. One thing that I think is important for you to take away today is that when you said AI will not repeat mistakes, you're assuming that the answer is always something like A. Whereas today, what we learned or was repeatedly stressed was that a safe answer today might not be safe in a different context, in a different time, in a different setting. So that's very important. I think that's why I'm very intrigued with the AI agent idea. I study the market as an antitrust lawyer, and so I think it's very important. Another observation that I wanted to make was that I've actually heard a lot about AI agents and how the market is developing. Whereas now, all the rage is about foundation models. We're talking about generative AI. People talk about general purpose AI. People talk about frontier AI. And that's where I think, Ian, you talked about the monopoly issue. I mean, that's where people are really focusing, whereas now the market is developing or morphing into more of an AI agent layer. And so that shows you how regulation always, I'm a regulation guy, but it shows you the limits or sort of the time lag there. Now, I can't agree more with the education point that my fellow panelists just mentioned. During the pandemic, my daughter was first grade elementary school. She went to school every day. The other older children didn't go to school. Online was fine, but she had to go to school. Why? Because that human interaction was critical for her education. And I think that exactly is what it relates to what his point is. And that's why I think AI will actually displace professors more than elementary school teachers. So I can't agree more. Now, finally, Ian, I'd be happy to talk about the Brussels effect. I know we can't today, but maybe we can connect after the conference and later. I'd be happy to go down to Jeju and talk to you.
Yeah, we have to close. We have a next session. So, it's a crossment I do. So many of the regulations of trade currently impede the development of AI can ultimately prevent the benefit of humanity. In addition, AI governance, which is carried out independently by each country, would give without global cooperation is a very dangerous stance. So from the future AI society. So new concept of response is needed to prevent the adverse effect of AI. So I'm saying we from this the session I think we need the requires global cooperation. So finally, I would like to thank you all the speakers for their presentation and the discussion today. Now we'll close this session. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
그럼 이것으로 이번 세션을 마치겠습니다.